Hey, what's up? Today's guide is going to be covering the item toss cancel, or item toss canceling. Now, because I'm going to be saying this a million times, I'm just going to shorten it to ITC. This tech is related to items, and so the limitations of items are that you normally can't attack without first throwing your item, and so with this tech, you'd be able to launch range attacks while also holding your item, which is great defensively, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Now, just in case you don't know what a held item looks like, it's going to be this green flashing thing on this fighter's back. You can even see an opposing fighter's held item, but from a distance it's practically invisible. So the limitations of ITC are that if you have a completed Daybreak in your hands, you actually can't use this at all because attacking prioritizes the use of Daybreak, and your other two limitations are that you can't use any of your standing options, so standing charge shot or standing continuous fire, and your last limitation is that you can't use any of your normal melee options. The only exception to this is manual melee dash. When using item toss canceling, you'll have access to all 4 directions of dash charge shots. And if you hold the L button after doing any of those dash charge shots, you'll also have access to your continuous fire. But if you let go of the L button, you'll have to do the entire process all over again just to have access to your continuous fire. Alright, so let me show you how to input this. This is going to look really familiar. It's pretty much the exact same input as a manual melee dash attack, but the difference is that you do not flick the stick up and down as fast. So you'll notice the difference between manual melee dash attacks and ITC. The manual melee dash attack, as you can see, just happens almost instantly, while the ITC, you'll see that for a few frames I'll be turning back slightly. This is a sliding animation that happens when you shift your circle pad in the opposite direction of where you're running. If you practice this sliding animation, you'll quickly become accustomed to the timing required to item toss cancel. If you misinput an ITC, you will most likely perform a manual melee dash attack. And to give you just a quick reminder, manual melee dash attacks have a cooldown. You can take advantage of this cooldown as you're guaranteed to perform a dash charge shot during the cooldown of a manual melee dash attack. Now that we're on this topic, the risk of getting caught in a melee clash is increased because you can't contest a melee clash without first tossing your item, which may result in you taking more hits than you would normally. The reason why ITC is an amazing defensive option is due to the limitation of items. That limitation being that items that are held will not be respawned until they are completely used. So, for example, if you had a smart bomb in your hand, you'd never have to worry about getting hit by one until you've used it. This is especially powerful in Light vs. Dark because smart bombs are potentially game-winning items due to how broken they are. Another reason to use this tech defensively is to reduce the risk of leaving yourself vulnerable due to misinputs. So in this case, for example, you'd prefer to use this from a distance and when you aren't being swarmed by enemy fire, as you could accidentally dodge into attacks the wrong way, resulting in damage taken. Now, with that being said, this is the reason why using ITC offensively is risky, but if used correctly, you can play this mind game of whether or not you have an item by overwhelming your opponent with dash charge shots, and then using your item when you see an opportunity to use it. This has amazing potential if you have the double item power, as you would have 2 items. And remember that as long as you hold one, the item won't respawn. Now if you combine this with the weapon that has the item attack plus modifier, you will always be a threat. If you're playing Light vs. Dark, item toss canceling is an amazing option to use as the Angel, as you would be able to help your teammates with supporting fire when you aren't the center of attention, while also being able to hold a dangerous item that can be used later on when the fight comes to you eventually. Oh yeah, and just to give you an idea of how you can hold your item for longer while also attacking is by using jumping powers. For example, rocket jump, jump glide, and sky jump. But I would recommend sky jump because sky jump has 10 uses regardless of level, and higher levels of sky jump have insane damage reduction as well. Just a quick reminder, while attacking in the air, you are unable to toss items or use Daybreak. So with this, you'll have access to your standing charge shot in midair. If you land while having the L button held down, you will have access to all forms of continuous fire on the ground. Just remember that if you release the L button, you'll lose your ability to use continuous fire. Also, be aware that if you have a completed Daybreak, you will only have access to your dash continuous fire on the ground, as having Daybreak in hand locks your standing attack options for some reason. Combining ITC with jumping powers is going to take practice depending on how proficient you are with managing powers, but this combination has a lot of potential in my opinion. Before I wrap things up, I found out that you can actually item toss cancel out of a dodge. I tried testing out the timing of it, but I still don't understand how to do it. It definitely looks a lot easier than it is. But regardless, I think the risk outweighs the benefit, but it's pretty cool to know at the very least. And just to emphasize how much of a struggle this was to test, here's a montage of my failed attempts. So to wrap things up, I think item toss canceling has a lot of potential. The biggest hurdle you'll have is just being able to use it consistently, but other than that, I think it's a really nice tech to have in the back pocket. So that'll do it for the video for today. Admittedly, this took way longer than it really should have, but right now I'm in the process of moving places, so for that reason, it's taken like, what, about 2 weeks to make this? Just because so much things has been coming out of left field. But anyways, if you would like to see more Kid Icarus Uprising content in the future, definitely hit the subscribe button if you aren't already. And if I have enough time, I'll upload another smaller video, which will just be covering, I don't know, something like some features I'd like to see in a remake that will probably never happen. But anyways, I'll catch you in the next one. So, see ya. Peace.